Okay, there we go. Okay, you're live. Cool. So we're going to be starting in a minute. We have James joining us today. He's our new social media manager and the moderator in the Discord. And we'll just be introducing him in a minute. And then I just want to make sure, let's see. If anyone has a chance, let us know that there's no looping in the audio because we're also having James in the output. And we're going to start now. Okay. So we have an exciting meetup today. Exciting updates. A lot of cool things. We're still like, I don't know. We launched like months ago. We're still like working 24/7, balls to the wall, all night marathons because this is actually exciting. Because it seems like we're discovering new bleeding edge solutions daily, and it's actually helping us even grow our own business. So, for example, like the software developer agent made all of this possible. We wouldn't have been able to launch this quickly. Like we would have been months later than we are now if we didn't have the Project Atlas ability to generate the UI for everything that we just did so quickly. So that was kind of exciting. Google is now reviewing an Epic update for, let me just make sure that we're live still. An Epic update for the latest Agents Dashboard 7.0.0. And every time we add like permissions or new files or something, because we're Manifest version 2, grandfathered into Manifest version 2, they take an extra long, random manual review that sometimes takes up to a week. So we released it, I think, a few days ago. So so we expect it to come probably published this weekend. But it also adds the ability to set up your own Supabase, have more analytics, more fine-grained controls over agents, and basically all the features that we felt we needed while we were building this to actually make them functional and useful. And so I'll be going over all those updates. You can see those updates now, so I'll be demoing them to you now, but you won't have access to this until the extension auto update 7.0.0. Google will publish this auto update to all users, so you don't need to do anything, but it might take up to 3 days. If you look at this chart here, you can see that when we publish something on the left, that's when we first publish it. Only a small percentage of users get it the first day. Then the second day, like most of them get it. And then by the third day, all of them have it. So it takes about 3 days. Like this is the same thing, another update. It takes about 3 days for Google to publish the entire update globally to all regions and all countries. But we'll make announcements when it's ready, and then you guys can manually reinstall usually to get it faster. In our last meetup, we talked about how, last meetups, we talked about how we're growing 40% month over month, which would have meant, and we hit this, we talked about this target in last meetup, that we should hit 14,000 users by the end of this month. We actually blew past that, which is kind of exciting. Yay! We hit 17,000 users, and I think what's happening now is influencers are random. We're not really advertising ourselves that much. Influencers are picking us up and things, so we haven't even set up the entire marketing stack yet. We've only just basically set up Google Ads and partnering with some influencers, but there's a lot more for us to do. So we do expect to actually increase and even accelerate more than that. Right now, we're setting up the partnerships for influencers and things like that. It's finally at the point where users can help us iterate these agents and help us build the value of the platform in simple language. So now we can focus on other things to grow the company meaningfully. And as we grow the company sustainably, that'll allow us to hire more people, get more engineers to develop more features faster, hire more support, more office hours, everything. So it's going to be exciting. Next few months, we should be hiring a lot more people, especially next month, we'll be hiring more people. Okay. And that means I won't have to do everything myself. Oh, actually, speaking of more people, let me just introduce James again. Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a real pleasure to watch CheatLayer grow and evolve so quickly. By the way, a quick bit about myself. I'm James, CheatLayer's community manager. You may have already discovered me on the Discord as a moderator. It's my pleasure to let you guys know about our latest announcement for the CheatLayer community. Our monthly poll is going on right now. If you've not had a chance to vote in our monthly poll, now is the time. The winner of the poll gets a lifetime subscription to CheatLayer, 100,000 cheat cloud tasks, and a white label add-on. So if you didn't make last month's poll, no worries. I have you covered. Every month, we're running the poll on the most useful or interesting cheat codes. So bring your deep industry insight, Explorer hat for, and submit those cheat codes. Also, I know many of you have been eagerly awaiting for CheatLayer Desktop. The wait is almost over. CheatLayer Desktop is coming in August. To celebrate our early users, we have an epic hackathon in New York City. So we can build agents live for all our users. In our last hackathon, we were thrilled to see how many solutions were built in a single night live with our users. So we're excited to accelerate agent training in this way as well. We'll fly out 10 random early supporters to this event for an all expense paid trip to our next hackathon. Remember, that's around August. Now to hand the virtual mic back over to none other than our founder, Rowan. Take it away, my friend.
Hey, thanks, James. Yeah, you guys, if you there's a bunch of users who actually we flew out to our first hackathon in LA, so there's some photos of that maybe around in the Discord and things like that. That was a super fun event actually. Throughout the process of building CheatLayer, we had never accelerated development that quickly than we had on that night, and we got so much done on a single night that it seems like a no-brainer to hold more hackathons, because we're at the point that rather than requiring office hours and engineers to build these things, users can actually discover these things in simple language. So I feel like if we all get together and like figure out the tricks, we can then just go off and build tons of automations really quickly. So to incentivize that, we're flying out 10 early users, early subscribers, people who are subscribed as of August. We'll randomly pick people and we'll send out invites to an all-expense paid trip to New York City. Our last hackathon was actually in this posh mansion in LA, so that was kind of fun. So we're looking for somewhere cool, something similar like that, somewhere large. We'll set up Airbnbs so you guys can, you don't have to stay in the hackathon house. You can go somewhere else for the night. But then we'll also have like a big launch for Project Atlas Desktop. So that'll be exciting. And then let me go on to some of the updates for this month or this week. So we have agent memory, and this is really exciting because it adds the ability for agents, well, for each user to maintain their agents in a secure personal environment, so your data doesn't leak across other users or anything. So it's your own data. You get access to your own Supabase. We'll show you how to set it up. Supabase is like a database, a no-code database that allows you to easily edit the data. You don't have to know how to use databases. You can use buttons and things to set them up, and if there's any corrupted data, you can actually manually fix it. It's like Firebase. However, it adds the ability, unlike Firebase, to use something called vector databases, store vectors basically, and do vector operations for searching. And so that's useful because you can now use embeddings, which is this OpenAI trick for turning a piece of text basically into a number. And so once you get that vector, that number, and you have two numbers are much easier to compare and form, like calculate distances and things like that. So this is useful. In simple terms, this is useful because it allows your agents to learn. And so, for example, our sales agents, they're not just doing personalized outbound. They're actually maintaining personalized conversations towards a goal. And so in order to get the history of all those conversations with potentially hundreds of leads in parallel, it uses a vector database so that it always knows who it's talking to. And also, by doing this, these agents implicitly learn things in the vector space. For example, if you're doing sales, right? Every time you generate copy for sales, you'll get data. Even the failures will be data. But when you get conversions, that data is valuable because then you can start learning which copy was actually high converting and lead it to success. And these agents, if you use a vector database, can instantly get access to that entire history of high converting copy. So over time, each user will be growing their own agents with their own intelligence that'll actually get better. and better over time. So that's kind of exciting. Yeah. This also gives us a defensive moat against anyone else who's sort of copying this idea, because I mean, we've been building agents for a year, but people seem to think that we've been copying like AutoGPT and all that stuff. But those aren't really our competitors. Our main competitors are Microsoft and Adept.ai, who are going to enter the market in a few months. And they can hire thousands of engineers overnight to copy this idea. That's kind of what we're worried about. Agent memory allows us to enable users to store unique business insight and data, which requires statistical significance, which means that it takes time to record, at least 2 weeks. So if you know what A/B testing is, you know you require traffic and time to have enough data to actually have meaningful results from that data. And so because it takes time, every 2 weeks that we start enabling users to do this is another 2 weeks that Microsoft can't just copy without spending that same amount of time. It's not possible. You actually do need to spend the 2 weeks because any one day can bias the results. So this is super exciting for our own defensive moat against like other competitors and people who are kind of like now all copying this idea. But also it was born just implicitly from our quest to build valuable automations and agents for our customers. Actually like meaningful agents, things that actually improve your business. And we're doing that by focusing on the agents that would improve our business first. So that's kind of exciting. So also this new feature is available across not just the sales agent, any agent. So you can actually build your own custom agents that are not just getting better at like copy. Maybe they're getting better at like gathering data or making jokes or something like that. Because you can, any language-based task, you can now learn the history of what's successful and not by using a vector database, by recording maybe even like not just yes or no or successful or not, like a spectrum of data, like a spectrum of a number. Like it's very interesting. So I'm sure I'll be talking about this more in the coming weeks as we discover more use cases for agent memory and vector databases and all this stuff. So it's kind of exciting. Excuse me. I'm feeling a little nauseous today, so we might have to cut this demo kind of short, but I'm going to make sure we get through all the new agents dashboard and things like that. So because it's super exciting for us. So I know a lot of users are also waiting for it. So apologies if we do have to cut this short, but I'm going to make sure we get through everything. So we have new dashboard features. So this, like I mentioned, Google is reviewing the 7.0.0 update that enables the Supabase, the vector database, the analytics, fine-tune controls over rate limits, hard and soft limits. So we noticed, like, since launch, the feedback that we got was that if you're actually managing these agents, they quickly can go out of hand. And I understand this is why we listen to users, why we launched, why we wanted this feedback process, is because we're building something completely new here, an agents management platform, not just a clone of an open source project, but an actual meaningful way to get value out of these agents. And the goal of this platform is to build it like a project management interface. And we know that it's likely that it won't be the same ideal interface that people are used to. We're likely going to have to develop features that are independent and valuable for agents. And so this is an example of that, basically. So we're listening to all the feedback from all our early users who are using this and learning how we can build this new sort of project management world in agents, in the language of agents. So imagine instead of a team of remote people, you have now a team of agents who are now constantly completing tasks for you in parallel. And you can just update them, get updates, even rank them, fire them, hire them, things like that. So that'd be kind of exciting. Or even like once you train an agent, maybe you can even employ them out to other people and other people could hire them. Because you understand through this vector database, our users now have the power to build super valuable agents that we won't have access to as CheatLayer. Only you will have access to, because you have that deep industry insight in like markets that we don't have any idea about. And you have that ability to actually gather that data because you have the ability to teach the agent what is high converting or what works well, things like that. So super exciting. You also have the ability to upload data directly to agents now. We just added that because I wanted to upload a CSV as input for one of the sales agents just to test if that's possible. And you'll see two new exciting features today. You can email agents directly. So this was useful for the sales agent because we want them to have conversations not just on websites but also to emails and things like that. So Each agent now has a specific email address that you can forward from any transactional email service or even Gmail. I'll release tutorials for this as soon as Google releases the update. That's what we'll do next. And so we'll show you how to set this up. And then this allows you to very easily build autoresponders powered by GPT-4. Not just like sales agents, but even just generally autoresponders powered by GPT-4. If you had set up our sales automation webinar, or if you remember watching that sales automation webinar from the bootcamp, we set up an automated Apollo.io basically, and we used GPT-4 to auto-respond to all those cold emails with a history of our emails. And so it knew when people were interested or not interested just based on like a huge history of our emails. But we were using, this was before ChatGPT was even released actually. So that's when we built this automation. So we were using GPT-3 to build this automation, and it required like that big history of what was successful, who's interested in demos and who's not interested in demos, basically to train it. With agents, it's completely different. It's way easier. You don't need this huge history of emails. You can actually tell the agent how to respond in natural language like an assistant. I'll show you. This kind of cool. So you can say things like, if people are actually like interested in the demo, send them a link to my calendar link. If they're not interested, just don't say anything, or send me an email or something like that. So instead of trying to train it through examples, you can actually train it with language, which is really, really exciting. So that's how I was able to build these agents so quickly, and I highly recommend you guys take advantage of that. The ability to edit tasks is very important here. So I just want to highlight, I don't know if any other agents or AutoGPT, I haven't tested them really extensively because I didn't believe they were powerful, but I don't know if any other agents allow you the ability to actually edit the tasks of what they do, because this, I've noticed for myself, this is supremely important in getting successful agents. I rely on this because if you think about it, at a high level, we train all agents at the system level. When they hit roadblocks, we can train all agents to get over things like opening tabs, sending data, scraping tables, stuff like that. However, at the low level, when you guys are training agents in the field, you will encounter roadblocks that we haven't trained at the high level. So this is the path for users to distill their insight into agents by editing the tasks. And I'll show you an example I'll edit a task today. I'll show you how it works. And this allows you to bypass those roadblocks where agents just fail. Sometimes agents maybe get to step 2 or 3 and they fail. You don't have to give up. You can just tell it how to fix the next step and it'll continue. And this is very, very useful for me. I've been much more successful this way than just going to the goal of the agent, because at the goal of the agent, you're kind of relying on the agent to fix itself. If it gets stuck in a loop and can't fix itself, it needs reinforcement learning with human feedback, right? It's like that new idea in research that has been improving ChatGPT so much. So if you are the human feedback in agents, you can actually improve them, and we've proven that. So it helps tremendously. I highly recommend editing tasks when you get the 7.0.0 update if you're having trouble with agents, because they're basically the path to trial and error and distilling your insight into agents to make them actually successful. And then, so like I mentioned, you can edit tasks. So that means that you can now set up agents to do any sort of auto-responding and stuff like that. Not just sales agents. So you can do customer support agents that respond to customer support based on maybe all your embeddings and you can actually upload all your knowledge base into your Supa base. And now it has access to your entire documentation and can answer questions and things like that. So it's an email agent that'll answer any sort of question that you want. You can send the same email to many different agents and have them respond only if it's relevant to them, or you can send all emails to one agent, this one like huge assistant that you train it. When someone wants me to send, like you can tell it like when someone wants me to send them a reply on a text message, send me a text. When someone wants me to set up a demo, send them a link to my calendar. When someone wants me to fix something, forward them to the support email. Like you can actually train all these rules in simple language just by typing it out and trial and error and testing. So that's really exciting. I'm excited to see what you guys come up with. Actually, the use cases you come up with. I'm sure we'll figure out more things than just sales and support. And then the next thing that we're doing is not just emailing the agents. This ability to email agents basically is the same infrastructure for webhooks, so we can just easily add webhooks next, which means that you can trigger agents like when your calendar from like Google Calendar allows you to trigger events to webhooks. So like when a birthday happens, you can trigger agents to actually send the birthday happy birthday. Or like when there was like an alert or something, like something emergency happens, you can actually trigger agents to send you a message or send your emergency contact a message. So these agents will be like your personal team, constantly working for you in the background, and you can train them to do whatever you want using simple language. And I'm going to show you examples of this today. So you'll quickly start to realize that this is probably like the most powerful automation we've released yet. Like we're getting demos for this. We got like a response from this like 20 minutes ago. So it literally works. And it's the easiest possible way I've seen to set this up. If you tried to set up our sales automation webinar before, it was kind of clunky. You have to like click things and enter your codes and API keys and all that stuff. This just does it for you. It sends the emails. We set it up with Google Workspace first because you can set up any business email, any website, anything into Google Workspace and then use that. However, we'll add other transactional services, and you can actually add other transactional services yourself using just the API. Okay. So that's kind of cool. Look out for agent webhooks. And then we've had some exciting new possibilities for research. So basically, we don't know, like we've reached this point. We realized that we had to build this. But to iterate to the next step, we need to understand what the roadblocks are. I mean, we built a framework to scale horizontally and vertically infinitely. So to accelerate that process, we're leaning on our community. We're teaching and enabling our community to discover these and share these. We're incentivizing, and basically all that stuff is happening in parallel. And so, one second, let me. Oops. Okay, latest research. Sorry. So we're constantly. My point is, we're constantly learning new and better ways to do this because this is a completely new market. We're the only no-code project management interface for agents that exists today. And so every day, users are probably going to run into roadblocks that are valuable insight for us. Because when you run into a roadblock with agents, you can tell us, we can train all agents, everyone gets access to that solution. Or there's this other thing that we noticed is users sometimes, that's completely natural and fine. They sometimes phrase things differently than we would phrase them because we've been using this for months. We know kind of how to talk to ChatGPT and GPT-4. So there is a slight language difference just by the patterns that we didn't even notice that we just talk differently. And so, for example, I say things like, you are a professional engineer or you are a professional marketer, always at the first sentence. And that seems to actually help if you look at the latest research because this is like an autoresponder. Like this is like an autocomplete, right? The function of the autocomplete is basically a probability matrix of every word to every other word. So if you put a word at the beginning, it's very strong and affects every other word that comes after. So if you put things like, you are a professional software engineer, then GPT-4 will look into its data set of only professional software engineers. It'll cut out everything else that might be jargon and stuff you don't want to use. And so that helps improve your outputs. The other thing that you can say is like, do it step by step. But it's hard for users to remember all these rules, right? We remember these because we've been reading all the latest research papers, but I don't expect a new customer, and that doesn't really solve the root problem, to make it as simple as possible, right? For completely non-technical people, they shouldn't have to know what to say. There shouldn't be any jargon, or basically. So it should actually meet users at their level of understanding. So in order to do that, we came up with this idea that since the patterns of the way we speak are just language, we can actually translate from what normal people would say to the more complex version just by giving inputs and output examples. And we can train a translator from normal language to ideal bleeding edge research GPT-4 best prompt optimized prompt language. And that should actually work. That's actually something that's possible. There's nothing that stops that from happening. The only downside of that is it might cost more credits because you have to run it every time you run, but maybe just like 100 more credits, right? So imagine if you just spend 100 more credits to make sure every request is right the first time, rather than wasting thousands of credits when they're all wrong, right? Because you're never going to get it. Maybe you might have not even known that do it step by step works, or you maybe just heard that if you put that in the first sentence, that makes it much easier. So this is one option that we're working on. Next is translating the input to an ideal input that GPT-4 will expect. That'll be more successful based on our training data. And we'll test this. We'll maybe make it like an option that people can turn off. I'm sure that it's like a statistical solution, not an exact solution. There's probably edge cases where it's not always best, but maybe in most cases it is worth it. So we'll try it. Okay, so that's exciting. And then let's see. Whoops. Okay, yeah. So the idea is basically a prompt optimizer. I think there's other prompt optimizing like prompts themselves that help you optimize prompts. So it's kind of that idea. If you've heard of that, if you Google that idea. It's my dog. Sorry. Okay. And then last, I'm really excited to finally like demo the sales agent working. So just to reiterate with a sales agent, we've been talking about for weeks. Instead of just doing cold outreach, which most services now do, like Apollo and stuff like that, it's able to scour websites, do lead generation, and then not just personalize outbound, but personalize conversations. So not just one message. When they reply, it replies again. And they reply, and it keeps replying. Until they move towards a goal where they send it to you, or a link, or even a sale. So that's very exciting, because that's an actual autonomous sales agent, not just automating sales like other tools we're doing. These are actual autonomous AI sales agents, which is really exciting. And they learn, right? They learn over time with a vector database. So I'm continually like blowing my own mind with this thing. So it's kind of fun. Okay. So like I mentioned before, you can build not just sales agents with the same technology. You can build support, autoresponders for any purpose, whatever you want to do, any business or market that you want you need auto-responding with. I remember someone in the support just joined us today, and they had a very good use case for this. So what you're talking about, you can set this up with this. So, and also, like I mentioned, this ability for agents to learn over time is just an implicit ability now baked into all agents. So even if you reinstall the extension, it'll keep this persistent data. And then it's your own data. You have complete access to it. We don't have access to it. It's your own private data. But also, it's not just for sales. It's for anything else that you want to build on, which means that as users help us test this, they will actually be growing a significantly valuable data set that it's in your own Supabase. So you can take it to other things if you want. But this is a valuable data set for your business that you won't lose, basically. So I think it'll become useful as agents get better over time as well, because you can bring that same data set to every new agent, GPT-5, whatever you need next. Super excited to finally release this. And then now let me just go over the new agents dashboard features. So on the settings, you can now set your own API key, a Supabase API key, a Supabase URL. You can change your soft limit, the hard limit, and the agent rate. It's a basic is 10 seconds. That's a default. You can go up from there. And then on the new dashboard, we've introduced new graphs to basically monitor how many tasks agents consume so they don't run out of tasks. We added back the ability to stream the results from agents from other tabs. So there's actually video streaming from agents that run in the background. And then you also have the ability now to upload data. Okay. So let me just quickly go over the sales agent demo. We published this. You guys can't use this until you have access to update 7.0.0. But as soon as you do, you'll have access to all these features that I'm showing off now. So you now have the ability to reset agents, so you don't have to redo all of them or re-add them and stuff like that. You can just reset them, share them, remove them. All that stuff is normal. Also, the ability to edit tasks is now back. So you can. This is like I was mentioning before. This is a super valuable feature, and I'm not sure if any other agent allows this, but it's basically a path to building functional agents today that actually work. It's like a guaranteed path, because you can always like tell them to fix the roadblock and stuff like that. So if you've done it yourself, not something like you haven't done yourself, right? So it's kind of exciting. So let me go over this example. So this is an autonomous sales agent that takes a CSV as input. So we have this big Google sheet of YouTubers we got scraped that has their email in the first column, and then a description of what their YouTube channel is. And these are all people that we want to partner with, right? There's 1,500 people in this email list. Yeah, okay. So we're using this to test the agents because it's like a low-risk thing for us, but we'll start using it for actual sales next. So let's see. Now, we have this Google Sheets CSV URL. So what you want to do is click File, Share, Publish to Web, get the CSV URL. You can also upload CSVs. You don't have to put it on the Google Sheets and stuff like that. So that's why we added that feature. Copy that CSV URL. Let me just make sure I have the right one. Copied. And then now you can edit the task of the agent. So I'm going to go here and edit the task. Like I mentioned, this is a super powerful feature. I highly recommend playing with this. You don't have access to this until 7.0.0, but it makes them much more effective. You can like fix where they go wrong and stuff like that. You don't have to rely on the output generated by the agent. So I'm just going to paste my Google Sheet URL here and then click outside, and that saves the new task. So now this task has been altered, but you can also down here. So this agent has two tasks. So the first task actually sends all the emails, all the outbounds. We had another agent that even scrapes these emails and things like that. And it generates personalized messages from the description of the actual channel. And then you can see here, we also asked it to, when it's generating that message, we asked it to write a, let me see if I can read it here. Yeah, and introduce our startup cheat layer, which builds automations from end to end. Then ask if they would be interested in a significant recurring revenue for a partnership. So that's basically the message we wanted to generate, but it's going to generate a new message for each person. So that's kind of cool. Okay, so now I'm going to run this. Yeah, I'll run this. Okay. And then now it's in a new tab. It's going to grab that Google Sheets CSV, all those 1,500 people, and then loop through them slowly one by one, sending each one of them a personalized message based on their actual context. So in about 10 seconds, it's going to generate an email. It's using GPT-3 to generate the email, so they'll actually be different. And see, it's generated an email here. Helspis, if you're interested. I didn't get to read all that, but you'll see it in the recording. So, okay, now it's going to generate another one in about 10 seconds. It'll be a completely different email. It's just going to go down the list. It's going to do our sales outbound for us with personalized outbound. Not just the same A/B tested message to each person. This is personalized messages to each person. And this works not just like from a CSV. You can do this on any website. You can tell these agents to scour random websites like LinkedIn, GitHub, places where there are actually emails, and have it generate the personalized message live from the context where it finds the person. Or just scrape that for later use and stuff like that. Oh, this one of the emails must have been a bad format, but you get the idea. It'll keep going. And then, so this sends out the emails. You'll see on the other side that this actually works. We're getting responses. Like I got a response like an hour ago. I was just testing this morning. So people actually respond to these. It actually works. You can generate you can give it a history of your copy. So it actually it copies your writing style and all that stuff. It's or more details about your business, so it's more relevant and things like that. And you can even tell it to A/B test messages. So you can have it actually A/B test messages. And since you're storing the successful conversions in the vector database, because every time it gets a response, it knows if they're interested or not interested automatically. I really like this design. It feels like it gives me tingles down my spine because it's automatically getting better. So every time a person responds to these messages, it implicitly knows when they're interested because the vector database brings up the whole history of messages, right? And so it implicitly knows how to get better, which ones are actually interested, and how to respond to people who are interested in things like that. So that's kind of exciting. Sometimes some of the emails are malformatted and stuff, so it might do that. That's okay. Okay, so I'm going to stop this before it sends out 1,500 emails, or we'll just do one more. Okay, cool. And then, yeah. So agents, see how that task actually failed? So I forgot to mention there's loading bars now. There's more visual feedback on what agents are actually doing. And in fact, I think we need to add even one more visual feedback, is just a timer countdown between the agent interval, and then everything will be comfortable for me to use it as well. So, let me test the autoresponder as well. So let me see, because we can't wait for someone to respond. Let me just tell. So this is an autoresponder. Okay, so you can now build autoresponders for any task. This is not just a sales autoresponder. This could be a support autoresponder. It could be a responder for your general assistant who just has multiple different rules that if they want a demo, they can do this. If they want support, they can go to email, send them to support and all that stuff. So you can build super powerful agent assistants this way. So that's kind of exciting, however you want. But basically, you design it. You can look at this closely. You design what the autoresponder does in simple language, in sentences. Whereas before, if you remember, if you set up our old sales automation webinar, you might remember that you had to like get a history of your successful conversions to train it on who was actually interested in a demo. You no longer have to do that. Like instead of like this huge list of emails, this is it, just a few sentences, right? And you just teach it in simple language. That's kind of really exciting. Okay, so you can see here, all I've done is I've told it to reply to people who are interested with a link to my Calendly link. And if they're not interested, just say not interested. Okay, so I'm going to do that now just to test that. So all agents now have an exact email address. We'll publish that. You can see that in the next update, how to email them directly in the settings page. And you can also forward your main email or any other transactional email service like Mailgun or MailChimp or whatever to the same address. So it parses everything for you. It doesn't have to respond to everything. You can tell it just not to respond to some things, but it'll parse everything for you. And then once the message is sent, about 30 seconds later, it's going to actually process this in using your agent task as a task. So let's just give it a second. Oh, there it goes. Okay. So now it's opened that agent. Now it's running that task, but using, if you look closely, it's using the text from my email, the context of my email to process the task. So you can see it's very easy now to process emails using agents and GPT-4 and build your own autoresponder. So now see it's responding with a link to my Calendly link. So if I go back here, it's going to respond in like my sent emails. It'll respond with a link to my Calendly link. Yeah, pretty cool. I can also say, like, let's see, not interested. I'll show you what happens when I'm not interested, just so you know it's actually an intelligent agent. It's not just dumb. Not interested. Unsubscribe. That's something some people say. Unsubscribe. I know how to spell. And send it. And you can enable and disable these agents and all that stuff. It's super useful. Very powerful system for auto-responding. We're definitely going to switch over to this instead of our old sales webinar because it's way more easy and effective for me to control. And yeah, so now it's processing unsubscribe, not interested. Let's see what it does. See, not interested. Cool. So super amazing, really powerful tool. And all I did was like 3 sentences. So in 3 sentences now, you can build your own GPT-powered sales automation tools, your own GPT-powered support emails, and you can enter your own API key so you can do unlimited. You can run it unlimited times. So it's kind of super useful. I really like this this feature, and it's like immediately useful for us as a business. So I'm excited for you guys to get access to this. So 7.0.0, everyone will get access to these features, and please share what you discover. I'm really excited to know what you guys build, but also there might be, like, I'm sure there's other roadblocks and bugs and things we haven't figured out. This is also new. Let us know what the roadblocks are in the agents training channel in our Discord. Please help us, because this is how we make we train all agents to get better over time and iterate over time. Because as users discover weird edge cases like, oh, it won't send text message. Okay, we just add the Twilio API. So we can easily just keep adding these features. When users tell us something doesn't work, we just train it in simple language. So that's the framework we set up to make it easily possible for now to iterate, expand the number of automations horizontally and vertically, which means infinitely many automations. And now you can see with the addition of Supabase, they can have infinite complexity, infinite memory, right? So we can keep adding as many of these use cases and roadblocks and edge cases and deep industry insights that our users can give us in parallel, if they all give it to us in parallel as fast as possible. So we're going to try and incentivize this community of users who help each other discover and build actually valuable, meaningful agents for their business. All right, guys, let's do it. Okay, guys, super excited. Stay tuned for the update. I'll publish tutorials soon, and we'll see you all next week. Okay? See you, James.
Take care.